live stream service here at Central Baptist Church. As we begin, we light this candle, celebrating the presence of Christ in us, among us, and beyond us. It's hard to believe that it's been 4.5 months since we've been together in person for a worship service. I heard on the radio this week that Canadians are measuring the passage of time by the length of their prime minister's hair. You may be doing the same on Sunday mornings with your ministers. But over these months, I've noticed that the concept of time has changed in my mind and in my life. Life seems to have hit a pause button, but life also still happens. It seems that time has stood still, but is also gone in a flash. Today, we center ourselves in this present moment, to be with one another and to be with God. Frederick Buechner writes about living beyond time in his book, The Sacred Journey. He writes, "The ticking of the clock is death's patter song and means that time passes and passes and passes, whatever time is. The rumbling stomach means that hunger and lunch, but meaning in that sense is not the point. What each of them might be thought to mean separately is less important than what they all mean together. At the very least, they mean this. They mean listen. Listen. Your life is happening. You are happening." This morning, may we spend this time fully present in this moment, listening to the life that is happening around us, listening to the life that God brings to us. Let us worship God together.
Good morning again. Our opening hymn, our hymn of gratitude, is "Glorious Things of Thee Are Spoken."
Surround
worship will be led by Linda McCubbin.
Please join me in the call to worship. O God, open our eyes to see your love splashed across the skies. Awaken our hearts. Open our ears to hear these ancient trees whispering of your faithfulness. Awaken our hearts. Open our minds to see your revolutions rippling through quiet streams. Awaken our hearts. Open our hearts to sense your kindness championing us in the evening breeze. Awaken our hearts.
Now I invite you all to pass the peace of Christ and send greetings to one another in our live chat. As you do that, we want to mark a milestone and celebrate with Mary Jo Burke. Her birthday is either tomorrow or the next day. We're trying to sort that out. But I was told not to mention the number of her birthday this year. But it is a multiple of 10 and a very significant milestone for her. Mary Jo, we are so thankful to you for your dedication to Central and all your years of service that have helped make this place what it is today. We thank you for your support, and your guidance, your leadership, and your calming presence that you bring each day. Of course, we wish we could be with you, giving you hugs and eating cake with you, but know that our deep gratitude and our great joy is with you as you celebrate. Now hear these words from Psalm 31, read by Claudia Hall.
Today's scripture is Psalm 13. How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death, and my enemy will say, I have prevailed. My soul will rejoice because I am shaken, but I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord, because he has dealt bountifully with me.
In the morning, when the trees dip their legs into the sunlight, orange and red like an artist, dawn smears out her heart till the colors come streaming out of the dark. Awake my soul and see, love is at the heart of everything. And in the evening, when the birds write their songs, the breeze stirs up stories of long journeys home, while the south wind wanders these streets, welcoming strangers to share his good drink. Awake my soul and see, love is at the heart of everything. In the nighttime, When the moon winks her eye, the stars don their finest to go back in time. Constellations chart out histories, remind us our place in this great tapestry. Awake, my soul, and see. Awake, my soul, and see. Awake, my soul, and see. Love is at the heart of everything. In the morning, when the trees dip their legs into the sunlight, it's orange and red like an artist. Dawn smears out her heart till the colors come streaming out of the dark.
Thank you, Aaron. How long should a sermon be? A 2019 study from the Pew Research Center looked at over 50,000 sermons across America. They discovered that historically black preachers offered the longest sermons, averaging just under an hour at 54 minutes long. Next, the evangelicals came in at about 39 minutes, followed by mainline congregations, probably where progressive Baptists like us would fit. Their sermons on average were 25 minutes long. While these higher liturgy services that focus as much on the table as the pulpit would have the shortest sermons, about 14 minutes. Early in ministry, I was once told a statement that has stayed with me. It was, there is no such thing as a bad short sermon. I remember that when I end up preaching a long one. So yes, I think about that statement about weekly, it seems. But if you pull back the pages of history, you would discover that in the 17th century, during the height of the Puritan influence in New England, when the religious service was the only possible communal gathering for both men and women, and things like the theater or any other social outlet was forbidden, worship services would last from 4 to 5 hours long, with the sermon being the bulk of the time spent, with sermons up to 2 hours or 2.5 hours long. Don't worry, it's not going to be that long today. I'll get it under an hour somehow. But the simple fact is, most people's attention spans are not what they used to be. Imagine how concerned then we are, video preachers, that this form of worship has made many of us, to recognize how many options there are out there for you right at this moment to surf the web or to go get more coffee or to get bored and turn this service off completely or just come back to it later. I get it. I get it now more than ever, these temptations to sensationalize or to shock. I mean, why did the television preacher always do those healings by popping people over the forehead? Well, the healings were not a testimony to the power of God as much as a cheap technique to try to keep people watching. Hey, come back from the kitchen. He's getting ready to hit Aunt Marge. And I'm a pro myself at this multitasking. Walking or cleaning or driving and yes, even reading while I am listening and watching something else. Has your housemate in exasperation watching you with your nose buried into something else say, "Are you even watching this?" According to some researchers, our attention spans have markedly decreased over the years. Even in the past 15 years. In the year 2000, the American attention span was down, according to these researchers, to 12 seconds. Now, 15 years later, they believe it has shrunk to 8.25 seconds. These scientists reckon we have a shorter attention span than the average goldfish, who's been studied to be able to focus on one particular thing for a total 9 seconds long. And if all of this is true, and at some levels it has to be, doesn't it help explain why our culture is so downright impatient? And why we are struggling so profoundly with this terrible COVID-19 pandemic? A particular term has caught my attention over the past 4 months, introduced by the epidemiologist that we have been listening to. It's the term lagging indicator. The effectiveness of trying to understand and curb the spread and impact of this virus won't be known until 2 or 3 weeks later. The virus is sneaky, easily transmittable, and can hide in people unaware that they have it, and then it first slowly spreads before it will raise its ugly head. And by then it could be too late. And like a race car, it goes from 0 to 100 miles per hour in seconds. For an impatient public, conditioned by quick fixes and prone to easy solutions and always making binary choices, aren't we the most ill prepared to fight something that waits us out and demands a self-discipline and patience few of us in the general public are equipped to manage? So we heard the psalmist pray, as read by Claudia for us this morning. How long, O Lord, how long will you forget us forever? And I'm sure many of you are wondering, maybe with increasing frustration, how long? How long are we going to be living under the shadow? How long before we can return to those lives of mobility and travel and movies and sports and meaningful social gatherings, including church? The answer? Well, the answer I truly hate, but find little solutions close at hand. I'm afraid the answer on how long will be for a while. For a while. Even with churches coming back to in-person worship, I've heard and read that most churchgoers are going to wait it out. That a minister pushing for in-person services is only putting his or her ministers at risk because only the most adventurous and risk-taking of members and guests will actually show up, while the bulk of the congregation will wait and let other people be the guinea pigs. Our reopening committee and most of you I've talked with are speaking with one voice. Take it slow. Take it slow. Be patient. Wait. But there's really something bigger going on, far, far bigger than in-person worship service. Something connected to social justice. Like the growing awareness of the white community to take black suffrage more seriously. 400 plus years where we are still struggling to acknowledge and work through the shadow and sin of racism. Are you able to affirm yet how slavery built this country and the prosperity that you and I enjoy is because of the free labor forced upon those who were of a different ethnicity? And we have benefited, and now we still somehow blame and oppress those who are the descendants of slaves. Are we able to say we owe them? And Black Lives Matter. And aren't we still trying to figure out the larger Christian church in America, who's in and who's out? Swayed and surrendered as we have by the political divisions sown into our fellowships now 50 years ago by the moral majority, as a response to all the socially progressive advancements for women or divorcees or those with differing sexual identities and orientations. Do you think we're really going to be able to turn the clock back to the 1950s? I mean, I wasn't alive then, but I can promise you it may have been good for some people, but it wasn't good for a lot of people. And now, this conflation and captivity of the white evangelical church into being nothing more than a political rally, turning in some settings the Church of Jesus Christ into nothing more than a xenophobic hate mob. How else do you explain the complete failure to hear and follow the biblical mandate to take care and welcome the stranger, or to care for the poor, and to not allow someone's poverty to be held against them, to take care of those who are sick and broken and in need, to visit the person who is in prison, to give a cup of cold water to the person who is thirsty? How else do you explain taking treasured American symbols and turning them into objects of worship? The worst form of idolatry. Maybe a full stop for the American church is exactly what the doctor is ordering. For a community that believes that out of death comes resurrection, and that a seed must fall to the ground and die before it begins to struggle through the darkness and comes back out of the ground. Wait a little while longer. Asian Christian scholar Kosiku Koyama writes, in A 3 Mile an Hour God, God walks slowly because God is love. If God is not love, God would go much faster. Love has its speed, an inner speed, a spiritual speed. It goes on in the depth of our life, whether we notice it or not, whether we're hit by a storm or not, at 3 miles an hour. It's the speed we walk, and the speed the love of God walks. 3 miles an hour. God in love walking. Think about that next time you're out there trying to get your steps. Do you remember that wonderful word from your King James Bible, now translated as patience in most modern translations. You can find it listed as one of the gifts of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22, an explanation of God's delayed destruction of evil in Romans 9:22. It describes Paul's painful and strained relationship with the church at Corinth in 2 Corinthians 2:6, and the qualities of a good leader and teacher in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 10, chapter 4, verse 2. And especially for the stressors and difficulties of today's worries, this beautiful word is long suffering. Perhaps a spiritual equivalent of a lagging indicator. Only time will tell the truth of all things. With regard to social change, some feel we are moving far too fast. Many are saying we are moving not fast enough. For me, yesterday is already too late to finally deal with racial inequality and the full acceptance of our neighbor without discrimination. So what am I asking you to do in this season of summer waiting and perhaps fall delay? Hang in there. Grow your root deeper still. Don't touch that dial. Work on your attention span. Study issues like racial justice and be ready to make some changes if you've not already made some changes yet. Renew yourself with all those new habits and skills you were starting to learn in March and developing in the early phases of this shutdown. Get on a Zoom with a small group. They're really friendly people. They'll welcome you. They won't say, "Where have you been?" or "Haven't you figured out this technology yet?" At least, I don't think they will. Join one of those conversations. Go meet with a friend outside with social distance. Share an iced tea with someone on a front porch or in a front yard. Wear a mask. Please, wear a mask in public. Why is that even a controversy? And don't linger. When you need something, go get it and come back out. Don't just kind of mose your way through the store. Why don't we want to wear that mask? Is it vanity? Keep connected to your church and all these means that we have available through Vespers and meetings and the website and this service. Watch a service again or find something that really meant something to you and go back and rewatch a service. Take initiative. Don't wait to be called. Call somebody others out. Keep on initiating relationships and building your social network. Don't allow your isolation to draw you further away from your community that loves you so much. Keep looking. Keep looking for beauty and celebrate it. Read a poem a day. Memorize something. Take a deep breath. Support the cause of the immigrant or the forgotten. Pray for the healthcare workers and frontline servants who are pressed beyond measure as they try to truly serve the public need. Remember the sick. Give your money to the poor. Celebrate the welcome of God, a welcome offered for you, a welcome that's here in this very moment, a welcome of grace that is sitting right there in your lap. All you must do is embrace it and claim it and call it for your own. Be the church who is called out of the shadows and the darknesses and the problems of the world and rises up with love recognizing there will be challenges, there will be pressures, there will be temptations, but I will persist. I will persist through faith, hope, and love, because these things are eternal. Listen, the weather is going to turn, and this virus is still going to be with us, and the normal stresses of life are going to continue. And yes, just as the psalmist says, some of our enemies are going to prosper. And it will take everything for us to say with the psalmist at the end of Psalm 13. I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because the Lord has dealt bountifully with me.
Mark mentioned a welcome there at the end. Hear these words of Jesus from Matthew. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. Thanks be to God. And now we're going to have I'm call you to a time of prayer and reflection. But as you do, keep your eyes and ears open, because you will hear some beautiful music played by Cindy Abernathy and see some beautiful photographs done by Sally Horowitz.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Sally, for those beautiful, that beautiful music and those beautiful images. That time to reflect and to be present with each other and to be present with the presence of God. Let's sing one last song together this morning before we go. My shepherd will supply my need. My shepherd will supply my need. Jehovah is his name. In pastures fresh, he makes me feed beside the living stream. He brings my wandering spirit back when I forsake his ways, and leads me for his mercy's sake in paths of truth and grace. When I walk through the shades of death, your presence is my stay. One word of your supporting breath drives all my fears away. Your hand inside of all my foes does still my table spread. My cup with blessings overflows. Your oil anoints my head. The sure provisions of my God attend me all my days. Oh, may your house be my abode, and all my work be praise. There would I find a settled rest, while others go and come. No more a stranger or a guest, but like a child at home. No more a stranger or a guest, but like a child at home. Amen. We're so glad that you have joined us for worship this morning, that you have been with us and have shared your greetings with one another on the chat. We want you to know that your presence is still a blessing to us, even though we are distanced from one another. If you have prayer requests, please know that you can send those to pray@lexcentral.com, to that email address, or you can go to lexcentral.com/pray, and there you can find a list of our requests. We also invite you to share those on our Facebook group. That's a home for those of us who call Central our primary family of faith, and we invite you to be part of that, to share your prayer requests there, to keep in touch and share encouragements as well with one another on that group as well. Also, Zoom groups are meeting throughout the week. You can go to lexcentral.com/group, and you can find a list of those groups and some folks to contact so that you can get all the information you need to be able to access that, whether it's a Sunday school class or a Thursday school class now or baby boomers. These are great ways for us to get together with one another, to keep in touch, and to care for one another as well. Finally, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter, that's how we send out reminders about most everything that we do. So please sign up. You can find that on every page of our website at lexcentral.com. And we'll try not to send out too many, but we usually send out a couple of newsletters a week just to keep you apprised of what's going on. We hope also to see you back here on our YouTube channel on Wednesday night as we have Vespers this week, and we're going to be talking with Carol and Bill Martin and chatting with them, so it's going to be a good time, another chance for us to keep in touch with one another. Now, if you would, please receive this benediction. As you go, may you see the steps of the shepherd before you. May you feel the green pastures beneath your feet, the cool waters on your tongue. And when the shadows grow long, may you know the shepherd's nearness. May you follow in goodness and mercy all your life long, and know welcome forevermore. Amen. Go in peace.